David had always been a hopeless romantic, believing in love's power to transform lives. When he met Anita, a stunning and charming woman with a magnetic presence, he felt like he had found his soulmate. Their connection was instant, and he was captivated by her every word, every smile. From that moment, he dedicated himself to making her happy, willing to go to any lengths to prove his love. Anita, on the other hand, enjoyed the attention, basking in the luxurious gifts and extravagant dates David showered upon her. She never asked about his financial situation, nor did she seem concerned when he spent lavishly on her. David, blinded by love, did not care about the growing dent in his savings. He was convinced that his sacrifices were an investment in their future together. David's friends and family noticed his reckless spending and tried to warn him. His best friend, Ken, was particularly concerned. "David, you're spending way too much on Anita. Have you even talked about marriage? What if she's just using you?" Ken questioned. But David dismissed their concerns, believing that love required sacrifices. He was certain that Anita loved him just as much as he loved her. "She's different," he reassured himself. "She's not after my money. She loves me for who I am." But deep inside, a small voice of doubt began to grow. Anita once mentioned her dream of owning a beauty salon. She spoke passionately about how she wanted to be independent and successful. David saw this as an opportunity to prove his love further. Without hesitation, he liquidated a portion of his life savings and handed her the money to start her business. She was overjoyed, thanking him profusely and promising that their future would be even brighter once the business took off. David felt proud of himself, believing that he had secured their future together. At first, things seemed great. Anita's salon opened, and business flourished. She was busier than ever, always surrounded by people, always occupied. But slowly, she started changing. She became less affectionate, often making excuses about being too tired or stressed from work. David brushed it off, convincing himself that it was just a phase. He kept supporting her, paying off additional expenses whenever she needed help. He reassured himself that their love was strong enough to endure this shift. One evening, David decided to surprise Anita at the salon. But when he arrived, he found her laughing and flirting with a well-dressed man he had never seen before. His heart sank, but he told himself it was nothing. She had many customers, and this could just be a business associate. However, when he tried to reach out for a hug, Anita pulled away uncomfortably. "Not here, David," she whispered, forcing a smile. The moment was brief, but it planted a seed of doubt in his heart. Anita's behavior became even more distant. She stopped calling as often, claiming she was exhausted from work. When David asked to spend time together, she always had an excuse. Their once passionate romance had turned into a one-sided affair, with David clinging to the hope that things would return to normal. He didn't want to believe what was happening. He had given her everything, his love, his time, his savings. He refused to accept that she might not feel the same way anymore. One night, Ken approached David with proof, photos of Anita with another man. They were not just talking, they were intimately close. David's world shattered. He felt a sharp pain in his chest as he stared at the undeniable truth. Ken hesitated before speaking. "I didn't want to show you this, but you needed to see it. She's been seeing him for months." "I'm sorry, David." David refused to believe it. He rushed to Anita's apartment, demanding answers. "Tell me it's not true," he pleaded. "Tell me that man means nothing to you." Anita sighed, her face void of emotion. "David, I appreciate everything you've done for me, but I don't think this is working anymore. I never asked for all the money you gave me. I never promised you anything." Her words cut deep, leaving him speechless. David left her apartment feeling numb. How could she discard him so easily? How could she say she never promised him anything? Every sacrifice, every penny he spent, was it all meaningless? The weight of his regret hit him like a storm. He had spent everything he had, financially and emotionally, on someone who never truly cared for him. David fell into depression. He had no money left, no savings, and no purpose. He barely ate, barely slept. His friends tried to support him, but he pushed them away, ashamed of how foolish he had been. He spent nights replaying everything in his head, searching for where he went wrong. But the truth was simple: he had given too much to someone who never intended to stay. Months passed, and David slowly started rebuilding himself. He got a new job and started saving again. It wasn't easy, but he learned to prioritize himself. He began reading self-help books, going to therapy, and reconnecting with friends. He realized that love should never require one to lose themselves entirely. One day, David heard rumors that Anita's salon had shut down. Her new lover had drained her finances and left her. She was now struggling, trying to recover from her own mistakes. David felt no joy in her downfall, only a deep sense of closure. He had already moved on, determined never to make the same mistake again. David met someone new, a woman who valued him for who he was, not for what he could give. He took things slowly this time, ensuring that love was mutual. His past had taught him a painful but valuable lesson: true love is not built on financial sacrifices but on mutual respect and care. With time, David rediscovered his sense of self. He began focusing on his career, working tirelessly to rebuild what he had lost. No longer driven by the need to impress someone, he started making smarter financial decisions. He enrolled in business courses, determined to understand wealth management better. His past mistakes had humbled him, but they had also given him a new purpose. He wanted to help others avoid the same pitfalls. He started a blog, writing about love, finances, and self-worth. To his surprise, his experiences resonated with many. Messages poured in from men and women who had made similar mistakes, and for the first time, David felt that his suffering had not been in vain. One evening, as he was leaving work, David ran into Anita. She looked different, tired, worn out, and lacking the confidence she once carried. At first, she hesitated to approach him, but then she spoke. "David, I heard about what you're doing. Your blog, your success. I'm happy for you," she said softly, her voice carrying a hint of regret. David felt no bitterness. He simply nodded. "I hope you're doing well," he replied. Anita sighed, looking down. "I made mistakes, David. I took you for granted, and I regret it. If I could go back." But David didn't need to hear the rest. He smiled, but there was no longing, no pain. Just peace. We both learned our lessons. That's all that matters. And with that, he walked away, leaving the past behind for good. David's past had made him wary of love, but it had not made him bitter. He knew now that love wasn't about financial sacrifice or proving worth through material things. Love should be about mutual effort, respect, and emotional connection. As he sat on his balcony, looking at the city skyline, he reflected on his journey. His regrets had once consumed him, but they had also shaped him into the man he was today. He had learned, healed, and most importantly, he had grown. And for the first time in his life, he felt truly wealthy, not just in money, but in wisdom, love, and self-respect.